Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to answer a question I get a lot, and to me, it seems like one of those questions that's common sense, but realistically, it really isn't. I've just got a lot of experience at this, and so I see some things as common sense that, if I'm going to be honest, really aren't, and that's okay, so we should cover those things. And that's, how often should we rotate accessory movements? All right. Really, there's a few different answers to look at. There's a few different ways you can look at it. I have 3 standard rules. Number 1, we rotate them if we see any signs of overuse starting or inflammation. Number 2, when we stall on progress on them, right? Or number 3, we can just rotate them at intervals. I have a lot of lifters who, I just change their stuff every 3 weeks, right? Nothing wrong with any of those approaches. Nothing wrong with those. And, you know, the 3-week rule is a good general guideline. It's a good general guideline. We don't have to follow it. I mean, we could use the same supplemental lift for 6 months straight sometimes without problems, can't we? Yeah, of course we can. So, 3 weeks. Why 3 weeks? Well, because we tend to do stuff in 3-week waves anyways. For example, like you guys have seen me do where I do 3-week waves of sumo speed pulls and 3-week waves of conventional speed pulls. Right? We might do 3 weeks of bands and then 3 weeks of chains on the speed work. So if we're taking that approach, we're doing a lot of stuff already in 3-week waves, which in standard block periodization would be standard mesocycles, which I don't use. But, you know, we get the idea that it takes the body 3 weeks sometimes to fully acclimate to something. And so oftentimes programming is done in 3-week waves because of that, right? Just like if you, as Louis Simmons always says, if you max on the same lift 3 weeks in a row, you will regress on it. So we could take that approach, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it as a baseline. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it as a baseline rule. However, sometimes we have certain lifts that we really, really need. Like, for example, you see me doing chin-ups up there in the background. I've set certain goals where I have strength levels I want to reach on a chin-up. I need some of the development that it gives. So I need to have a chin-up in there. But could we rotate the style of chin-up? Let's say I didn't even want to go to a pull-up. We want to do supine grip chin-ups, underhand grip. We could just change the grip width. That's a new exercise. Shoulder width versus close grip, right? That's 2 different supplemental lifts that are very, very similar. Now, if we're worried about some overuse, that's not bad. Not bad at all. We could do that. Could absolutely do that. And a lot of times guys will start, if we do a 3-week wave of these things, they might start with a couple reps in reserve and then try to build for 3 weeks and try to push it to that 3-week margin to where you can't progress anymore. So if you know you're going to do 3 weeks, that's not a bad approach, because how many times are you going to do the lift? You're either going to do it 3 or 6 times. Right? Because we train, if you follow my channel, you train 4 days a week and you do conjugate if you're not a novice, right? Hopefully. It's what I promote. So my programming is always going to be in that context. It's going to be very context specific. So if you're going to decide ahead of time you're going to rotate them in 3 weeks, you're going to try to progress hard on those 3 weeks and try to stall by the 3rd week. You're going to push so hard on adding weight that you're going to stall. Let's say you're doing 3x10s and you're going to start a little light on the first one. You're going to try to add small amounts of weight each session and get to the point to where you can't hit 3x10 on the last session in that 3rd week, and then you'll rotate it. And you can repeat the same process. That is actually a very good approach. We could take a looser approach, and you could say, okay, I'm going to start relatively easy and build up, and I'm going to use this lift not in a planned system, and I'm just going to push it until it stalls. This is a viable system also, by the way. This is just as viable. Okay, it's just less organized. It doesn't make it better or worse. You're probably not going to see different results. Other than with the 3-week wave, you're ensuring no overuse, right? Very, very hard to reach overuse in 3 weeks. There are exceptions. There are exercises that will beat you up in 3 weeks. Sometimes by the end of that 3rd week, they do happen. How about skull crushers will do that? Yep. So can things like illegal wide bench. So those exist. So your other option though is to just push a lift until it stalls, and then you say, you know what, it's stalled, I can't get any stronger on it, I can't get my 10 rep sets up, I try dropping to 8s, those stalled, and I'm going to swap it for another lift in the same slot that does a similar job. All right, you might have been doing closed grip bench and that's not working anymore, so you go over to dumbbell bench. Has a lot of similarities. All right, that's an option when it stalls completely and you can't progress any further. Another is to just do the same lift and just push limit sets all the time. Again, if you're not bulking hard, you may not see much progression. You didn't up the dose, bro. You didn't do anything like that. You know, progress will be slow, especially if you're not a noob. You can take a lift until it starts to get some inflammation. You know, and that's something I do again with a lot of my lifters. We'll do the rows that way, and if they start to see any inflammation in their forearms or other stuff, we'll take them from a regular row, pin leg row, shoulder width out to a snatch grip. Right? This is for people who don't have a lot of equipment. I'll do the same thing with their chin-ups and pull-ups. Some of my guys, they start to get hand pain and stuff from too much pronated grip stuff. So we'll switch them to supine grip. And I might do that, or I might take them to supine grip rows if they're having some hand pain there. Some of my skinnier guys run into a lot of those tendon problems once they bulk. It's very common. So we have to rotate movements based on just things like hand pain. We start seeing signs of overuse, you rotate them. The thing to remember with this approach, you probably want to put a lot of focus into movements that do not cause overuse as quickly. What do we mean? Well, actually a regular pin leg row, pretty slow to create overuse. I've run guys 6 months straight doing nothing but a standard pin leg row, and they don't get overuse problems oftentimes. Some of them do. Then you've got to adjust it. Dumbbell, a lot of dumbbell work. It's much easier on overuse because of the free-flowing nature of it, right? Because we can adjust as we go, muscles get fatigued differently because every rep can be almost a different exercise. And if we start to feel fatigue in certain places, our form adjusts through the set. That actually creates for a smaller amount of overuse. Right? So if they say again a chest press with dumbbells, it's going to take a lot more time to see overuse on a dumbbell chest press and a closed grip than what about the other extreme? Right? How about illegal wide bench? We start seeing overuse within 3 weeks usually on that. Right? Tendons start to hurt. People will sometimes describe it as their shoulder. No, it's usually their pec tendon. Not so much the shoulder joint, it's connective tissue. But it's right there at that joint. All right, that exercise, you start to feel overuse really quick. Sometimes you can't even run it 3 weeks. You know, so we could compare the same thing for triceps. You could have these extensions like I'm doing with dumbbells. These are very easy on your tendons and elbow tendons. A skull crusher with a bar to your face, very hard on those tendons of the elbow. Some guys start seeing overuse after 4 workouts. 2 hard weeks, they'll start getting tendon inflammation. You need to rotate it out. Okay, so we could just take an exercise till it reaches overuse, right? So then you could rotate something like the skull crushers with these dumbbell extensions. The dumbbell extensions you could probably do for months before you experience any of that, possibly indefinitely. Skull crushers could need to rotate them by the end of the 2nd week. So that's also an option. That's also an option, and you can just push general limit sets on a lot of these. Right? That is an option. So there's no set answer. And all of these approaches I've given are perfectly viable. They can all get good results. Just put some thought into it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.